Hey everyone, welcome to Sweetcast. We're gonna have some more people coming in right now, coming in soon, hopefully. Um, right now though, I see I'm playing my own live stream and the audio is never muted, so I had to fix that. Okay. So right now we have Jeremy in the panel today, and he's here to talk about his book Movie Men, and then also whatever else comes up. So how is it going, Jeremy?
It's going pretty well. We're over 70% funded. We've got 25 days left to go, and we have a fairly low goal, so we should be able to get there. I'm hoping this week. We only have to raise about an additional what 500 and something dollars.
Very cool. Yeah, that's close. Let's while we're there. So I did send an invite to George Alexopoulos, and then also Scott McCullough, who's frequents my channel. So we'll see when they pop in. But while it's just the two of us, we might as well. And while people are kind of getting in here, let's look at
Infinite regress.
yeah, there we go. Let's look at your book here, Movie Men. And I better lock the screen on me so people can see it while you're talking about it. But why don't you go ahead and give us a little pitch?
Yeah. Okay. So the setup for Movie Men is that when you're at a movie theater, there's that usher that I don't know, 5 minutes into the movie, he walks in with a little glow on thing and makes sure that the exit is locked and everything's in place, and then he leaves. In this case, he finds a bomb, and so he yells "bomb," and then everybody tramples him. And then he gets up just in time for it to go off in his face, but he's still there. The theater's still there, but the monster is missing from the screen. That's the shortest setup I can give you for it.
Oh wow. I was gonna say that sounds like the worst day ever.
Yeah. Oh, it gets better.
Yeah,
because he and his colleagues then have to figure out what's happened with these monsters and go try to battle them to keep them from messing up their fair city of Bellingham.
Very cool. What would you say this is? Like, what's the target audience, or what is it? What's like the rating for it?
Yeah, I mean, it's truly an all ages book in the sense that I think adults very much would enjoy this, but kids could enjoy this too. Maybe very little kids. There are things that are too scary, but even then, I don't know. I think that a little bit of peril is good for the little tykes.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I've heard it described as Archie meets Ghostbusters with some last action hero thrown in. I think that's accurate.
Very cool. So it looks like you can get in on the digital for just $4.
Yep.
Physical copy is only $5. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's super affordable.
Yeah, I mean, we want readers.
Yeah.
There's bigger tiers where you can spend up to $1,000 on this thing if you want. But in that case, you're a character in a 4-page story at the back of it, and you get a lot of goodies. But I wanted people to get in on this cheap. I want a lot of readers. I want you to take one down and pass it around.
Yeah. And I'm noticing here, first is when I look at this, I'm like, this looks exactly like E.Y. Canalis, and yep, it is.
Yep. There's one tier that is. Sorry, you talk.
No, I was just gonna say he's one of the busiest men in comics. He's working on almost everybody's project to some degree or another. Yeah. So that's cool.
No, he's a really good guy. I've interacted with him for quite a while now. There's one tier, the highlighted tier, where you can get the comic and 2 pen-ups, one by and the other by Sean Hall, for $24, and that's actually quite popular with people.
Very cool. Nice. Well, the link for this is in the description below. We'll probably post it periodically in the chat. Cool. But yeah, I just want to, it's good to introduce this right off the bat. People can see it. We'll be talking a little bit more. We'll probably go for about an hour. Yeah, if you haven't backed Movie Men, I love that this is all ages. I feel like there's a lot more room there to do more all ages books, especially that work for adults and everyone alike. So
that's and he's great. Almost made his goal.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. That's a good deal.
Sounds like Scott is here. Let me just get back to where I can see what's going on. How's it going, Scott?
It's going well, man. How are you?
Good, good. Oh, I got to unlock the screen. No one wants to look at me. Cool. Well, we got 19 people so far. We're going to be building up a little bit more. I got to say, Angram's in the chat. Did you guys see that Angram was coloring Ted Lehman's? Like they did this fan art thing. So I talked to Angram and Ted Lehman's in the house. Hello, Ted. They've been working on it together. Angram's coloring it. She posted rather an update on Twitter, and it's looking pretty good so far. But I don't know.
She posted today.
No, this was Friday. I think maybe I'll pull it up.
I think I saw it.
Yeah, let me look it up just so it's better than me describing it, if you can actually see it. It sounds a little better that way. I'll get it pulled up here as soon as I can find it. And then Scott, I know you said you had some interesting news. I don't know if you want to announce that or wait a little bit, or
I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. Yeah, I'm still in I don't know where it's going yet, so I don't want to jinx it,
Sure. Okay, I'm gonna show off here. This is a picture of Angram's. I don't know if this is a tablet or just her computer screen, but you can see this is the piece that Ted Lehman did. He sent it to me.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And she started doing the colors, so it's really cool seeing everything come together. Yeah, I'm super impressed. Looks great. So, and we both have Angram and Ted in the chat. So, great job, both of you. I'm really excited to see this finished. And the plan is to put this in the book. There is a nice little chapter break in the middle of Downcast. And I always like it when I'm reading like a trade paperback, and when there's a chapter break, there's like one of the covers or some kind of art. And so I think this would be really great to stick right in between there. So that's the plan.
That's cool. Yeah, no, Ted's actually doing something door kickery right now. So he showed me a little, just a little snippet, and it looks awesome. He's very talented.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Like, yeah, it's really good stuff. So I'm excited to see what door kicker stuff he comes up with. Angram
he said it'd be about Friday, so we'll see.
Wow, nice. It's fast work too. Let's see. Angram says, I'm finishing it up as we speak. Very cool. I'm excited to see it. Oops, I didn't tag correctly. I still got it. Very cool. And Ted says, thanks, Scott. And it looks like we also have George Alexopoulos here. George, how are you doing?
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, little live stream. What are you working on?
I was doing a sketch tonight, so I figured it would, instead of just having a boring logo, maybe I'm embarrassed to show my stuff, but I have to get over that,
Yeah.
Clint, have you seen George's stuff for this Mary Sue idea he's got?
I've seen a lot of his stuff. I don't remember a Mary Sue thing though.
George, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this character that you're showing right now, that's the girl Mary Sue without the power armor, right?
Yeah, we're just calling her that now for fun, but maybe I'll call her that in the comment.
I love the tongue in cheek about it. We're definitely seeing a different side of you with this art, because we're used to those problematic strips, and this is a little more. It's not realistic because it still has that great cartoony face that you do, but it's really showing your skill as an artist. And man, it's really good stuff.
Yeah, thanks. It's funny, like the kind of things that you do for commissions kind of refresh you. Like, I don't know, I've been doing a couple of commissions along these lines, let's say, more realistic. And I don't know, it just got me really in the mood to do something a little more, I don't know what the word is exactly. It's not cartoony, more PG-13-ish. I've been thinking about anime a lot lately, so I wanted to do something fun and action-packed. And who knows if this will actually...
So if you could go up just a little bit on the drawing, I want to show something that this is the kind of thing that you do that I just don't see a lot. Like show her shorts. Yeah. So like her midsection.
Sure.
I think I see it.
Anyway, okay, so see how the back leg has got that shade, and of course he's working in value, so he's not just doing like pencils, but the form is there. And a lot of the times people try to do it with pencils, but it's not realized until the colors are laid down or the ink. Sometimes the inker and the penciler are on the same page, or somebody may ink their own work and it doesn't work out. But I mean, this just goes to show, like, the kind of full thought process and the full thing he brings here, man. It's just,
Yeah.
technically very good.
I've been really impressed. While you're bearing everything, George, I've been really impressed with your artwork. In that you have like a huge variety. So you posted like even like 3D stuff on Twitter, or like more like, I don't know, like fantasy things, all sorts of different stuff. But I can tell it's you because I'm no like art genius, but the nose.
The nose.
Yeah, you do noses in a certain way.
That's fun.
And it makes it look like they're alive, like they have blood pumping through their veins. You know?
Oh,
what I mean?
you know what it is? Some people make fun of it. Some people call it the Tumblr nose, where you give it just a little bit of shading over here. I'll do an exaggerated version here.
Yeah.
And then you add a little twinkle.
Oh,
I see what you're saying.
Tumblr
Yeah.
A lot of people make fun of it, but I say no, man. I've seen like impressionist paintings with the Tumblr nose. It's real.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong to Tumblr. I'm taking it back.
Well, isn't there? I think I read once or heard once that there's more blood vessels or something in your nose, and so it will actually, like in real life, it'll be more red or more opaque.
Yeah, that's why when you drink, you see like drunk people have real red nose, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah. And art-wise, it's just I don't know, it all depends on each individual artist, but I like it in that it makes them look just more expressive, vibrant. I don't know. It's like, why give characters exaggerated features? Like, let's say for a lady, this hourglass shape. We exaggerate the hourglass shape anyway. We give huge muscular guys extra muscles. So why not? I think a little bit of blush, a little bit of makeup, it makes it more fun to look at.
Yeah. Well, whatever you do, man, you hit the nail on the head pretty well.
The nose knows.
Yeah. That was weird. I kind of disappeared for a little while there. I don't know if you guys noticed, but that was weird.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Great to be back. Yeah, good stuff. We're talking about noses, I guess, but I think I missed it. So yeah, so a few things we want to talk about. I do want to introduce though the title of this video, because it always seems better, like instead of just calling it like Monday night live streaming or something that's boring, it's nice to have some kind of topic. So the topic I put here is Pro or Bust, the Michael Turner challenge. And I'll lay this out for you a little bit. If you're familiar with Michael Turner, he's a comic book artist. He passed away in 2008, I believe. He got started at Top Cow and did a whole bunch of comics. So there's a great documentary about him on YouTube. I can't remember what it's called, but you could probably just search Michael Turner documentary and you'll find it. And what really impressed me with him, it's amazing, is that he kind of got started out with it and with doing comic art, and he wasn't great, but Mark Silvestri just told him what to do to be better, and he would just turn around and get better at it. So yeah, just his improvement from the documentary, it was just astounding how quickly he got to a professional level. And I'm sure that's because there's just talent, so I'm calling this the Michael Turner challenge because getting really good in a short period of time sounds like fun. I don't know that it's possible, but I think it'd be fun to try. And so if anybody is interested in brushing up on their art skills or in improving, join me this summer. I'm going to be working on drawing every day. on something, and I'll try to post progress. I should come up with a hashtag. I didn't think ahead that far, but yeah, we'll work on some of that stuff. So if you're interested in joining the Michael Turner Challenge in his honor, we'll do that this summer.
Turner's been in the headlines recently, right?
Oh, I don't know. I hadn't seen him.
Okay. Because DC was doing that thing where they were erasing butts and things like that, and that was his artwork that they were.
Oh, that's right. That's right. There was some of his.
Yeah,
that's right. Even
a lot
more.
Of people are like, you're erasing a dead man's butts.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Putting pants on, or
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, for the Walmart versions.
Yeah.
Little strange. Even more fitting then. We'll do a Michael Turner challenge. And like all that is just because, I know he's a good he was really well respected, really good artist. He improved in a short period of time. And he passed away. And so to me, I just thought that would be a cool way to honor a comic artist. So that's why I decided to name it after Michael Turner. So yeah, we'll come up with some stuff. Yeah, he did Witchblade, he did Fathom, I know he did stuff for DC, he did a whole bunch of stuff.
He was the president of Aspen Comics.
Yes.
I believe maybe the founder, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he founded it.
Okay.
Yeah, started out with at Top Cow, and then went and did his own thing, and really interesting story. Like I highly recommend the documentary. Just Google it. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
So that's one thing. We're introducing that. You did bring up, Jeremy, you brought up an interesting topic that has been interesting to me, and that is the analog. What did you call it again? The analog revolution?
The Revenge of Analog.
Revenge of Analog.
There's a book about this called The Revenge of Analog: Real Things and Why They Matter by David Sachs. And it's describing this idea. There were all these predictions about our future and how we were going to have a paperless future. Everything was going to be digital. The bookstores were going to go the way of the dodo bird, etc. That none of that's happened. The share of ebooks surged and declined. Digital comics also surged and are not doing that well. Will Callaghan had a book called Gun Ghoul that was it wasn't Comixology, but on Amazon it was the top seller for like weeks. And he sold, I think, a couple hundred of each, maybe. It was maybe one was over 2, and I think others were between 1 and 200 copies. Digital comics are also prone to massive online piracy, and that's actually taken a chunk out of the mighty manga market because so many people will read this stuff for free rather than buying it. You've in the non-comic book world, you've also seen vinyl make a comeback. Vinyl plus streaming actually has a bigger market share of music now than Apple does. But that's incredible. Some chain bookstores have suffered, but indie bookstores have staged a minor comeback. There's a mania for paper products right now, including paper planners, specialty handmade paper decor, and of course comic books. And there's a lot of reasons for this. But one of them is just the utility of it's useful to have physical things. And like ebooks, for instance, have basically no resale value. They exist in a digital space. So you have to be on to use them at a time.
You don't even own them. You only have a limited license.
Yeah, like they can literally, like Kindle, they've literally like yanked books that people bought. They give them their money back, but still, they exist in a digital space. So you have to be on to use them at a time when many are discovering that these things are basically distraction devices that rob us of our focus.
Reading comprehension of digital books is lower than physical books.
Scroll reading is much less valuable to our knowledge and our enjoyment than reading that you can only get with physical products. And when it comes to Movie Men, the reason I went ahead and did a PDF is just because the foreign shipping is just so great that it's just a regular comic, and it's going to be it's for $5, and so in domestically it's another $5 to get it to your door, which I think is reasonable. But the internationally it's $15 just to get one comic to your door. And so I said, that's insane. So I made it, you know, it's available to anyone, but I made the digital available primarily for foreigners so that they, you know, weren't going to get just absolutely soaked, but with postage. But
Yeah.
you know, you've also seen this with a lot of these Indiegogos and Kickstarters. Digital, it's a part of the campaigns, but it's you know, it's not almost never the biggest revenue stream in any of them.
We have a super chat. Carlson Depth says, "You're saying ephemeral won't be ephemeral?" Question mark. Yeah, and then there's Matthew has a question. Sweetcast, was there a name of the book? This was Revenge of Analog, right?
Yep, by David Sachs.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I don't know. For me, I can only speak for me, but personally, I read 2 comics, 2 issues digital, and it was it just felt like soulless, terrible experience. I should say I read them on my phone. I've read other ones on the computer screen that you know, fellow comic indie creators have sent to me, just to, you know, like, hey, you know, just so you know a little bit about it or something like that. And I get that, that's fine. But for my own enjoyment, if I'm paying for it, I really want a physical copy. Like that, to me, it's just, there's no comparison. But I do totally understand the foreign shipping it's a beast. I wish there was a way to fix that problem easily, but it's not, at the moment, it's not super attainable. So yeah, I actually made a video, I don't know, it was like a couple weeks ago, about that. There's that article about the shopping malls.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the same thing. Yeah.
Let me know what your thought is on that, Scott.
No, I mean, I think what they're realizing is that the Generation Z now is pushing back against the digitalization of their entire life. Now, it's not like they're like getting rid of their phone or anything like that, but they want real experiences. And what that means is places to go, hang out with their friends, things like that. I think part of it is kind of a pushback on the, you know, cloistered lives that a lot of these millennials you see live, who, you know, have really kind of just, they video game, they do, you know, they don't go to bars to pick up girls, they use apps to do it, you know, things like that. So they're just disconnected from life. So it's really hard to make those, you know, those connections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the same thing with, like, I think cell phones. I remember a time when everybody was saying that cell phones were just going to keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller until they're just tiny, you know. That's not the truth. Then they ended up getting bigger, you know, for screens, and, you know, they're bigger than they used to be. And yeah, I made the point in that same video, like music. I remember people saying, you know, stupid kids. This was when I was a teenager, but yeah, music was just going to get heavier and heavier and heavier metal, until what are you going to have left? But no, that's not how it works. It's a style. Things change in all sorts of different ways, and they'll even go backward, just like style does. So yeah, it's really interesting, especially that, yeah, Gen Z, the more that they start to have purchasing power, to me, it's really too bad that I feel like they've been kind of abandoned when it comes to comics. So I don't know, like, I wish they read comics, because that would change the comic industry for the better if more Gen Z people were getting into comic book shops and buying physical print copies. I think that would be good.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can get them into shops, though, but I mean, one of the big things that physical shops have over online stuff is, on online, there's all kinds of cart abandonment. Like, people don't think twice about putting something in a cart for Amazon or whatever and just going, I'm not interested. They almost never put stuff in a cart in a store and abandon that cart. You know, you get them in there, you can sell them things.
Yeah.
It's just as easy to impulsively back out of a sell as it is to make it in online anyway. Yeah, if you're in person, there's something about selling face to face, and that's why I feel like YouTube works so well, is because you're getting to know somebody, you're seeing somebody, there's human interaction. That goes a long way. Curious, George, what are your thoughts on this? Is there going to be an analog comeback?
I hate to be a middle of the road type of person, but I just think the more options a consumer has, the better. I don't think it kills business. I mean, I understand we mentioned the manga market is suffering a lot. And I know that for manga publishers, scanlations, they call it, were and maybe are still a massive problem, but that was because they were publishing manga way ahead of schedule. Like say I was reading Naruto in Japan, the latest episode just came out, but for a long time, American manga, the translations were catching up. So fans could just go online. Like that's how I read Berserk and Death Note. And when I actually talked to manga publishers a couple of years ago, they told me like, we don't know how to fix this, but it looks like they've caught up. Really the problem was timing for them. So if they do simultaneous releases, they should be able to make their money, but I don't know if the format like PDFs and that sort of thing, I don't know if they offer the security that a publisher would want. But is that even like, all right, for instance, like I read some manga on my Kindle or whatever apps. I have it on my tablet, I have it on my computer and my phone. And I've never been satisfied with how manga looks on my screen. And I don't know if that's Kindle's problem. I've tried the Google ebook reader. I'm just not happy with how they've formatted it. I don't know. But it's one more obstacle between me and my audience. Let's say if I have to go through Google or Amazon, I could just make a PDF and say, please don't share this.
Right.
I don't know if that'll work.
That's so with my crowdfunding campaign, I did digital. So I started out with no digital. There was a lot of people when I did that first stream, just announcing that I launched it. They wanted digital. So I added digital. And then I started seeing how much it was costing to do digital. It's so tough.
Through Google or something?
No, just putting it in the Indiegogo campaign. So when I say it, I mean like opportunity cost. So having a digital copy that costs less than the print version, even though effectively like the cost to make a comic book, from my perspective, when I'm hiring an artist and I'm hiring a letterer, it's not so much about printing the comic as it is about producing the comic. So yeah, it was definitely like it just undermined the
losing money
campaign a
that
little
way.
bit.
Well,
Yes,
that's true, but it also helps from a price discrimination perspective. You know what that means?
No,
go
I'm not
ahead.
a huge business guy, but yeah, please.
Okay, you can sell roughly the same product at different prices. You put more bells and whistles on it, etc. But it's like what a lot of we have different tiers, but essentially it's the comic book with some add-ons that people can pay various amounts of money for. And what was your physical copy price?
$15,
Okay, and what was your digital price?
$10.
Okay, and so you might think that I'm losing $5 for everybody that backs digital, but there's actually quite a few that wouldn't have backed it at 15.
Sure. It's hard to know for sure what the offset would be. Do you know what I mean? What the difference would be?
Yeah, I mean, they could do. I don't know how to do this, but you can do really complex econometric analysis that helps to understand to get at that. But most of us are not that smart.
Yeah.
The other variable in the CG market is also the shipping cost for international orders. So how many, at $15 when you have to pay another 15 just for shipping or even 20, that's a barrier for entry. But if we've talked before about the idea of, if your physical book is 15, then your PDF is 15, meaning the PDF is really aimed at that person in another country that doesn't want to pay double.
Yeah.
And if somebody says, well, listen, I'll buy a book at 10, but not at 15, then don't buy a book. And there's floppies for you.
Well, that's, I don't know. Part of it's hard because there's not a lot of, the way I think about Indiegogo, especially if you're starting new, like for me, this is like a new venture. It really is about fundraising. But then at the same time, you do get to a point where it's not about fundraising, it's about selling books. if that makes sense, especially like on future projects. And so I don't know, it's a hard balance to strike. And I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers.
Well, you're trying to fund your project, but you're also trying to find your audience at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you want to find the audience. I thought you said fund your audience.
Find.
Gotcha. I understand. I'm like, I'm not sure how you're funding them. Finding them, though, yes, you are. I totally agree. Jason Black says, comic art master. Oh, he's talking to someone else. Come back to him. Sweetcast was impressed with the documentary and the idea of getting good quick. Yeah, so that is the title of the video. I'm going to go back to, again, like these live streams are long enough that it feels like we're not on topic, but we are. Yeah. So the reason why this is called Pro or Bust, the Michael Turner Challenge, I am just inviting whoever is wanting to have a summer of extreme progress on drawing to join me in what I'm calling the Michael Turner Challenge. I'm calling it the Michael Turner Challenge because he really impressed me with how quickly he got to a professional level. And I imagine that's a lot of talent and hard work and that kind of thing. But I thought it would be really interesting to post updates and things on how quickly you could progress with, your art over just a few months. So I'm going to come up with a hashtag for it, and we'll have it on Twitter and things like that if you're interested in joining in. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Do you have a training regimen planned out yet?
I have a really loose idea, but I am open to suggestions if you've got them. I'm sure you would have a good idea.
Oh, there's a couple of ways. I actually used to teach art, but I had a great conversation with Alejandro Mirabal from Longshore. Oh, yeah. It's Longshore, right?
Yeah, Long Harbor.
Long Harbor. I'm so sorry. Yeah, and he also. I'm sorry.
I just said he's such a great artist. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He and I apparently both taught. He used to do seminars for artists in Indonesia, and we both agreed the best way for someone who's really trying to give themselves like the boot camp drawing experience is to always try to draw from real life. If you're using reference, because you learn more and you get more information from when you're looking at something stereoscopically, as opposed to like a flat magazine in front of you or a screen.
So for the stupid people that might be around, what does stereoscopically mean?
I'm sorry, using both of your eyes, let's say. I'm looking at something that's in front of me.
See the world 3D.
Right. I'm converting a 3D image using both of my eyes. I'm looking at my hand right now. And I'm actually gaining double the information as opposed to, and I have to tell my brain to convert this 3D image into 2D. So if in game terms, if you play RPGs, you gain way more experience points from drawing something from 3D than a flat image that's already flat. You're just copying it, which is okay if you're training your hand to obey you. So that's muscle memory. That's okay. But if you're trying to build a mental library and gain experience points faster, try to draw something that's always in front of you. And like, for instance, if you're in a relationship, let's say you can ask your spouse to pose for you, that sort of thing. Or even ask a friend to just sit still for a little while. That helps a lot.
So if I could just interject here, Clint. So the whole traditional thing that you always see people do to learn drawing, which is the still life, right? Mm-hmm. A bottle set up, a flower or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, what he's talking about is absolutely correct. I mean, you gain more information. You can always tell when you've seen a drawing that was drawn from a picture versus something that was drawn from life. Mm-hmm. And so, going through those hours and hours and hours of drawing boring still lifes, and they are boring. I mean, let's not lie about it. That really helps you learn to see the world as three-dimensional objects and kind of understand relationships and shade and value and all that kind of stuff. So there's a use to that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Would there be a difference? Maybe this is a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there a difference between, so I found this, I think it's called Design Doll. It's like a It's basically like a model that you can form any way you want, so you have a reference, but it's digital, so it's in your computer, as opposed to having, I do have one of those wood block people, but it doesn't actually look like a person. So I feel like it's not that
Okay.
helpful.
The little
Um,
mannequins.
Yes, yeah. So if I do one on the computer screen, is that still robbing me of the, even though it looks 3D, is that doesn't really count as 3D?
Well, I would say, do whatever feels good, right? So nothing's written in stone. There is value in that sort of thing. Let's put it like this. I remember, let me just start a new image here, or I'll just start a new layer. Let's say I had a figure drawing class in college. The first thing they would tell you to draw is the skeleton as, let's say, a stick figure character like this.
Oh, you're getting it. Yeah, construction.
Yeah. So what you're basically doing is trying to analyze the pose, looking at the character as a skeleton.
Mhm.
And then you might do a little something like that, little something like that. So the app that you're mentioning, or the 3D model viewer, let's say, might help you do something like that. The downside to that is that you're maybe not able to see, I don't know, if I had someone in front of me, not everyone has this resource, obviously. But you want to try to not only see what is on the surface in front of you, but try to understand the bones. Like, try to see X-ray style. Like, I'm going to draw a character, but I also want to look at. So I started with a stick figure, but now I call this the sausage figure. So now I'm kind of filling in, let's say, in very primitive shapes. So you have a cylinder like this. That's what the fingers, the arms composed of. If I draw a hand, this has been done before, I'm sure, a million times. You do this for the palm, and then you'll do this for the fingers, let's say.
Mhm.
So actually what you're trying to do is convince your brain to see through the object that you're drawing. And the long-winded answer is yes, that can help you. But I do think you can, like, let's say your wife or your special someone's in front of you and you just say, can you just sit still on the couch for a while? You yourself can get up and move around and look at them from different angles and say, oh, for instance, like, let's say I'm sitting down, my leg will smush. So my thigh, let's say,
Mhm.
I'm not in the best shape, but like my thigh is not going to be a perfectly round cylinder. It's going to actually be like a smushed oval. A figure, a character on a screen won't be able to show you like folds in clothing. Why does the clothing do that? There's all kinds of things. I would say there's more benefits to real life, but if that's your only resource, that's totally okay too.
Well, if it's because I've heard Alejandro, or I've seen him say this on Twitter too.
Mhm.
So I think it's useful. Here's the thing. If I'm thinking about it, like I put in the title, pro or bust, like making yourself the best artist that you can be in like 3 months or whatever.
Mhm.
If you, I don't know, to me it just seems like if you're telling me I have 2 artists now that have told me that is the most important thing. So to me, I'm like, I need to find a way to make that work.
Okay.
That's I don't know, that's my thought process anyway. And I have children, and they probably won't hold still very long. But
Yeah.
I have a wife too. But yeah, we could, I can find humans to draw, I'm sure.
I would think, yeah, if you can get them to sit still and try to draw them, like in game development, there's a saying like fail quickly. So that with your iterations of let's say you make a build of your game, you want to make the build as quickly as possible so that you'll see the problems very quickly and then correct them. So if you're going to draw crash course style, try to draw very fast drawings, like 5-minute drawings, 10-minute drawings.
Gesture drawings. I mean, the important thing is not necessarily the actual details of the structure. It's the impression and the gesture of the figure.
Mm-hmm.
So like Walt Stansfield, he was a artist for Disney, and he was actually hired by Walt Disney to give, or not. I guess it was Walt Disney, but maybe it was later. to actually give drawing lessons to all of the artists. And the idea was to, don't get like sucked into your animation thing. Remember to open your mind, because exactly what George was saying about drawing from life is the most important thing, because then you understand movement. And so when I was in art school, one of the things that we do in life drawing, especially figure drawing, is we would warm up for about 20 minutes on these 30-second poses. And literally you had a piece of charcoal and you had newsprint, and 30 seconds go, and you're like draw, like it's like a 50-50 split, like looking at the person, looking at the drawing, but you're drawing the whole time. You know what I mean? So you end up with something more like this. Then I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super loose, and it just kind of gives you the idea. And it's not focused on anatomy or anything like that, but it allows you to really start to capture that. And what they would then say is like, when you start drawing for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or half an hour or whatever, you shouldn't, okay, well, now I've got time, I can take my time, right? Well, no, you should still kind of get the whole figure pretty quickly on the page, but then you start going back, and then you start looking at structures, and okay, here's where the bones are. And so the idea is, understanding the skeleton underneath the skin. And, so there's that. It's kind of like what George was saying about the actual construction is important. But, just the way I was taught was more of a traditional style, where they've really focused on anatomy and understanding, like, all those unique little places on the body.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but there's something in getting bogged down by taking too long, perhaps. I mean, I've heard people say that. I'm comparing it to writing because that's what I know better. But I do know, like, with writing, there really is a matter of quantity that you have to do of writing, rather than making just this one paragraph so perfect and keep going over that same paragraph. It almost stalls you. So I don't know. I'm drawing comparisons, though it might not be one for one. It is, I guess, still an art form.
No, it's 100% true. Like, even when they say you have writer's block, try to get that first draft finished. They always say that, because if you're, let's say I'm polishing, it really is the same thing with art. I'm polishing this one paragraph, and I spend all of my day's energy on that one paragraph. You don't even know if you're going to cut that scene out. So what's the point of me, like, for instance, I'm working on this shirt right here. I can make this the nicest shirt ever drawn, ever rendered. I could spend hours on it. But then if I decide the pose is no good, or if you've ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, where the joke is, I spent 12 hours doing the shading on your upper lip or something, but the actual drawing looks terrible.
Yeah.
So you want to always try to get the whole figure down.
Now
Like
I want
a
to build
giant
someone a cake.
Sorry?
I said, now I want to go build someone a cake.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Gosh, Tina. Yeah, I need to watch that. I need to watch that movie again.
Eat your
It's been a little
food.
while. Eat your food.
I feel like it's not going to hold up well, but in some ways it's going to be just an awesome rewatch.
Yeah,
Indeed.
it's been a little while. Jason Black says, DM'd a drawing to you on Twitter. Thanks, Jason. I'll take a look at it. Let me share my screen here while we're looking at. I don't want to jump into DMs just in case yet before I see anything. But we were talking about Michael Turner as just, I guess, my inspiration for I haven't been like a huge Michael Turner fan necessarily. Like, it's not that I don't like his art. I just haven't read a lot of stuff that he's done, but his story was really inspiring. So yeah, here's one. This is another thing. So this is what I want to ask about too. Me as a writer, when I'm hiring an artist, something that's important to me is that they can have their characters act. That's how I think of it. And having expressive poses. And I think, you guys talked about that a little bit, but having,
Unlike
sorry, what's that?
Unlike Brie Larson.
Yeah, well, that expressive poses, but expressive faces also, unlike Brie Larson. Yeah, expressive faces, even just with like nuanced expressions. this isn't necessarily like the most expressive face, though I do think it does. It has some expression. I just pulled it up because it looked good. But yeah, that to me has been important. I don't know, like, what are your thoughts on drawing expressive faces that tell you something storytelling wise?
It's extremely useful. The thing that I do when I'm trying to put artists through the paces is I have a script of a page that I give everyone, and it's a harder page to do than some because it's a 6-panel page, and it's actually an odd number of panels is a lot easier. And it just walks. The setup is somebody's flying in a helicopter to a superhero headquarters, meet somebody on the tarmac, then they go down a hall. They see a meeting room where a bunch of superheroes are sitting, and one of them's mad about something, and so you get the expression there. And I've given that to a bunch of different people, and quite a few people have tried it and just said, I can't do this. And I know, okay, I can't work with that person because, obviously not there yet. But it's a really good tool to use to see how they would interpret your writing. It's a non-scripted page, so it's, you say, and it also allows them to supply the characters. There's actually one guy who created his own characters for this, and they're highly distinct characters, and at some point we may turn it into its own comic book.
Nice. Yeah, that's something that's been, I mean, I've looked at a ton of portfolios, even just for Downcast. When I posted a thing on DeviantArt and I started talking about my YouTube channel that I was looking for an artist, and I saw a ton of portfolios just from that, and then projects I worked on in the past, tons of portfolios. But it's amazing to me how many people, when they're applying for a sequential art position, will just send pinups. And yeah, I hadn't occurred to me to give them a page to draw. But yeah, for me, it was like, oh, no sequential art. Like, I don't care how good the pinups look. I just pass. Like, I don't even look any further. It's like, no sequential art. Okay, pass. Because you can be a really good artist. And I don't know, just from like a storytelling standpoint, I know for me as a writer, I really want to see an artist that can just visually show you something for the story, other than just, nicely drawn figures.
If I could link myself up with an animator who's never done sequential, I think I would take the risk, just because animators are probably the best I've ever seen at, simple expressions, the spaces, that you were talking about. I mean, that's how they get across.
I would say in that case that they've done sequential art. They just haven't put those sequences into comic boxes.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's true.
Composition is also super important.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If I were to block out it depends on what's going on the page, but not only which, like, let's say a plane lands, I walk across the tarmac, I go down into the danger room, and we're going to have a conversation. Let's say that's 4 sentences, and each one of those is 1 photograph. So then I have to decide, we definitely know we want those 4 shots. But now we have to ask ourselves, how do we put that on a page? Which panel is which shape? Which panel, like, establishing shots usually have to be really big. And that's going to take up a lot of real estate. And you have to decide which shots are more important than others. So in manga, there's something called keyframes or key panels.
Yeah.
So those are the panels that you actually arrange your whole page, both like you're doing it as a 2-page spread, not as a single page. So if you think of your composition as 2 pages, not 1, what is the first thing my eye is going to look at when I turn the page versus how do I want to guide the reader's eye across this page?
Yeah.
In animation, you've got that key artist, right? And he does key frames, and then you got these guys called tweeners, and they that's because they do the frames in between. So it's like key here, key there, and then they have to figure out the 12 steps or whatever it takes to get to.
Yeah.
Same kind of concept. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got here on the screen. I think this is the one with Michael Turner did. This is one I saw on Twitter where the right thighs, I guess, just her costume. She has, or sorry, her left thigh is clothed and her right isn't. But they colored that. I think this is the one I've seen on Twitter.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Just funny because it's like, painted on suit anyway. It's a little funny to me.
The worst one has to be, and I don't think it's Michael Turner's, but the worst one has to be the Wonder Woman.
Oh no, that was Michael Turner too.
Was that Michael Turner too?
Yeah,
that was the worst.
She had an actual butt, and they're like, yeah, I don't know.
No more butt crack.
They just made it flatter.
Yeah.
That's funny. Ann Graham in the chat says another tip in the same vein of failing quickly is finished, not perfect. You need to learn when to call something finished and move on. I should be following my own advice now. I think she's referring to that picture she's coloring. Yeah, man, I wouldn't even know. I feel like deadlines, if you were going to really draw sequential art for a comic book, meeting deadlines is so important. And then that's another thing is like, again, from a hiring standpoint, I'm just thinking of where I'm sitting. If I'm going to pay somebody to do a book, you have to be able to get it done in order to get it out, like in a certain period of time. If it takes too long, then it doesn't really do you much good in having it, like it might be nice, but I don't know. So I'm not going to pretend to know what the right time frame is. But there's something to be said for working fast too, as part of comics, especially if you want to do an ongoing series.
American comics versus manga is an interesting study for that as well. Manga artists use like up to 5 assistants.
Yeah.
And American
it's more
comic,
like information.
Yeah. They have, I mean, the assembly line style for America is different. Of course, we use pencilers, inkers, colorists, letterists, writers, so that's how they split those jobs. But let's say a page a day is a really breakneck pace for most artists. I don't know if most artists can do that and stay sane, but that's almost what you have to do.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that's doing a page a day. I understand, like, if that's the case, you need to make enough money to like support yourself for a day, and that, it's tough. And that's I know a lot of artists, I think, take on way too much than they really can do. I don't know.
One of the nice things
page a day was the standard.
Yeah, one of the nice things we have going for our in our broader community is you have a lot of people who have art skills but jobs, right?
Yeah.
And so what you got to do is find a way to. And Peter Samedi talked about this when he started going to monthly comics, right? He said, you can do miniseries, you can get that in the can, and you can make that work, but you can't, like you're not going to be able to do a monthly pace for people who are doing this part time, and so you just have to figure out how to plan around the fact that you have part timers that are doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's I don't know, like if we're sort of rethinking a little bit just for fun here, with like the manga approach to things, part of it is having a uniform style. At least I'm not, I'm not super smart with manga, but that's what I see is like there is a uniform style, or like a house style, so to speak, and that's part of it. In American comics, it seems to be much less of that. I don't know. I don't know. I've thought about this. Like, how would I do an ongoing series, or even to just be able to put out more of the same title per year, not necessarily monthly. Mm-hmm. And an idea that seems to like make some sense is alternating artists. Mm-hmm. That could also have its own problems too. But
there's nothing wrong with that.
So one of the things that I remember reading about in manga back in the 90s, was you'd have a studio with a main guy, and the main guy would draw the main characters, or he would do roughs of the main characters, and then some other guy would do some of the secondary characters, and another guy would do backgrounds, and another, you know what I mean? So like there's these kind of specialties within the studio of the things that they drew. And you know, they were doing it on pencil and paper back in the old days. So imagine how you could you could make that more efficient with what they're doing digitally. So it goes to that Webtoons article I sent you, Clint, about how Korean Webtoons are really kind of coming on. And I've seen several kind of TV shows in Korea where they talk about and feature these people that work in these places. And I mean, they're sweatshops, and they're all digital. And it's like people you wouldn't believe it. They do 20-hour days to meet their deadlines, and you know, but they're super popular, and there's no expense. I mean, the only overhead is paying the artist. Literally, that's it. You know, the writing and the art, and that's it, because there's no printing, there's no distribution channel outside of your digital distribution channels. And they come out very frequently, like I think weekly on some of the major titles.
Yeah.
And so you know, the format is even different because they're vertical. They're essentially these giant vertical scrolling files.
Yeah, I've read a few of those, and that's, yeah, if I think about that in the same, well, actually, even with strips with like George, a lot of your stuff, I've read quite a bit of it just on Reddit when I, you know, was first introduced to you, and that kind of stuff. I don't know, there's something, it just feels right for that format. It feels different to me. I don't know.
Right now.
The vertical style?
Well, or just like even you know, like the comic strips, like reading it on your computer, there's something really satisfying about it. Or like I'm not missing it in print, though I'm sure actually getting it in print would be, you know, given the option, I'd still probably prefer that, but I don't know.
I actually made it with print in mind. There's I stole this, of course, from Japan, but what they would do is they would have their 4-panel strips, like let's say Peanuts, Charlie Brown, that sort of thing. Those comics were made in those panel shapes so that editors in newspapers back in the 50s could arrange the panels any way that they needed to fill their comics page. And they didn't even have collections of their stuff until the 70s. I don't remember who did it first. I guess it was Peanuts. But years later, Japan, because their language is vertical, I guess someone had the idea it makes more sense for these strips to be vertically oriented. So if anyone doesn't know, my strip is 4 panels vertically stacked, 2 per page, and then you just keep flipping the page, and there's 4 strips per spread. And in Japan, they did that. It just seemed natural because their language goes vertically anyway. And since books are oriented portrait style, they just fit perfectly.
Yeah, makes sense. It's interesting. I don't know, I guess like the economics of how, or the logistics of how comics are the way that they are. Yeah, you know, there are reasons why, and I'm sure with you know, with comics, the standard American size comic, it probably, I imagine, has something to do with newsstand sizes or something. I don't know. I'm just making that up. But yeah, I mean, that's how most everything is. There's a reason for it. Or at least it started that way, and then, you know, maybe it changes over time. So I'm looking at, this is Jason Black in the chat. He sent this to me on Twitter. Jason, did you draw this? This looks amazing. I'm super impressed. Looks really good.
Jason does really good work.
Awesome. Yeah, I wasn't even aware that Jason was an artist. So sorry, Jason, but yeah, anytime send me art, because this is gorgeous. I'm really impressed. I want to say it's inspiring, but it's kind of discouraging because you're so good. I'm like, oh man. Very cool stuff. Why don't we, since I've got the screen shared, let's take a look back at Movie Men, Crowded Theater. Yep. Do you want to give us another, Jeremy, give us a pitch again? Because I know we've got new people watching.
Can you just scroll? There's the first 6 pages on this. Can you just scroll down a bit?
Yeah, let me lock the screen on me too. So yeah.
Infinite regress.
There we go.
Okay.
So
that's the cover.
Cover. All right. Here's some pages.
First page. So they're, you know, selling tickets and popcorn and whatnot. And then you have the usher. His name is Nikum. He finds what he thinks is a bomb. He yells bomb. And then everybody, you know, tramples Nikum. He gets up just in time for it to blow up, but he's still standing, and the dinosaur is missing from the screen. And then
Nice.
and then after that, we cut to a couple of the ticket takers outside as they see people running out in horror, having to refund someone's money, and then realizing that there is a disturbance across the street, and they decide to go see what it is. It's a mummy from one of the movies. He's terrorizing a jewelry store because, and this is actually true, the royals would be entombed with their jewels, and so he thinks this is a grave robber. So he's going to make her pay, and then they go to confront try to figure out what to do with his mummy, and he comes through the glass out at them, and who knows what happens next?
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
But this actually reminds me. This is way off, but it kind of reminds me of Phineas and Ferb. I think there is like episode 1. I remember
that's
had
right.
a mummy in a movie theater or something like that.
Okay.
It was a shockingly good cartoon.
I know.
Yeah.
I watched it with my son, and I was like, it's just there. But
My daughter, that's how I got into it.
yeah, it's good. It's like really entertaining, and they made fun of like Twilight. Like I want to watch that episode again. It was so funny. They made fun of Twilight and all that stuff. It was pretty great. So, but yeah, this is also looks really great. How's that for a segue?
The artist is Doug Curtis. He's done a bunch of online comics for years. The Flying Ferret is one example. And he works out of he lives in Minnesota. And I just approached him and said, would you be willing to draw my comic? And he said, well, let's see the script, and he liked it, and so here it is.
How many pages long is this?
It's a 20-page comic book.
Very cool.
It could get 4 pages longer if someone takes me up on the absolute top tier, which is a $999, and we throw in shipping. We give you a bunch of stuff, and we feature you in your own 4-page story along with the Movie Men.
Very cool. Nice. Well, cool. This is of comics that are on Indiegogo. This one is really obtainable. But I'd say like don't even, you could just get it a physical copy for $5. That's awesome. But yeah, definitely look at some of the other tiers because there's some good stuff here. Especially with pinups and stuff, and including this piece by Ebi Canales. He's a really cool guy. And his
updates real quick. There's the other pinup in the updates.
In the updates. Oh, that's up here.
Yeah, and you'll have to scroll down, but it's let's see here.
See more updates.
I think
read more. Is this
there
it?
it is. Yeah, Sean Hall did that piece.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, dinosaurs are awesome. Any way that those can get worked into like dinosaurs with people, that's always a good time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool.
Just wait until they manage to clone them.
Yeah. It's gonna happen someday.
We'll get more woolly mammoths first, but then they'll find some way to get some of these other.
Yeah. It's totally doable. And even despite like Jurassic Park and any of the warnings you might see, I would still be down for it. Like, I'm down. Let's do it. So yeah, cool. That's in the description. Movie Men Crowded Theater. That's in the description below. If you're interested in bagging it, at least just go check it out for sure because it does look good. Very cool. I'm just looking at the chat here. Eric Weathers, how's it going, man? He says Phineas and Ferb is the greatest show. I know, it's pretty great. That's an example of all ages, like done right.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like it's not like necessarily for kids. I mean, it is, but seriously, anybody can enjoy it. So
It's like Toy Story, jokes for the adults, jokes for the kids.
That's right. Yeah, if you have to sit through and watch it, then you got to have something that the parents are going to like. Okay. There's enough terrible stuff for kids that it's really hard to sit through. Anagram says, speaking of dinosaurs, did you see Kelsey Shannon's cover for Samurai and Dinosaurs? It's so ridiculously pretty. Yeah, I did see it. It is amazing.
Yeah.
It's it's not, I don't want to say surprising, but it's so impressive every day in this indie comics community that we have going on, how many amazing artists there are, just amazing talent all the time. I see it.
I mean, just look at what George is making right in front of us. I mean, I've been locked on him for
Yeah.
a while, and it's just, it's just, and it's not perfect, but it just blows me away the simple talent that is, on tap within Comicsgate.
And I bet, I wonder if we ask these artists, like, have they ever tried to get in touch with the big two or other publishers? Because I don't know if they have similar stories to mine, but for many years, like, I've been doing this for, my first book came out in 2005. I've tried so many times to get in touch with publishers and they just don't respond. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's like, we clearly are, like, all of us, there's a lot of us who are just really passionate and we have so many stories that we want to draw and write. But the publishers, it's like we have to ask their permission. It's like, no, we don't need your permission anymore.
Well, I mean, my thought is that unless you're really tied to one of their characters, like a specific, whether it's Batman or Wolverine or Captain America or somebody like that, unless you're just sold on having to draw that character, I feel like we just have to do it on our own because there is the barrier to entry, and we've all seen that. And two, it's better for us in the long run if we own these properties that we get successful with.
Yeah. If you can't join them, beat them.
Yeah, that's right. I'm excited, man, for the future because it does feel like the more I've been looking into this stuff too, they don't have a strangle. They have their intellectual property, but they don't have a stranglehold on the market. Actually, they have a really loose, like, fish grip on it. They just barely hold it on. But yeah, there's so many people I see all the time, new people getting back into comics or getting into comics for the first time because they get in and they start seeing people making comics and talking about it. And like, I'll even say, like for my wife, since she doesn't read comics, I'm hoping to change that someday. But a lot of it's been like, she's just been more used to appreciating the art. And the more you get into it, it's like you can respect, the stuff that George is doing right now. Like, there's talent there, and it's cool to see the all the hard work that goes into it. That you don't get. It's different than movies. It really is. There's something unique about it. It's so touched by a human hand.
But the success of comics movies at the multiplexes, it makes comics more accessible now than they've ever been before. That you just, that the type of stories. I mean, how many prom queens also watch Game of Thrones nowadays? Because I can tell you what, none of the prom queens I knew back in the late 80s, early 90s knew what freaking Tolkien was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, there's just been a broadening of interest within our culture that will now accept some of the things that would have just been dismissed out of hand.
Yeah. Well, look, geeks have taken over the world. Now what?
Yeah.
There you go. ... Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's why I feel like this time is such a. It's such an interesting time in comics, and I really think, like, as I've been watching more of these little documentaries and stuff, I really do believe this is going to be remembered as a point in history in comics. The fact that you can go crowdfund, there's enough people out there that understand how crowdfunding works, and that used to not be the case. You had to explain in your video how to crowdfund and how it all worked. Now there's enough people that get it, that they're buying comics through crowdfunding sites, and you have the ability to ship it to people, albeit probably a little bit too expensively, but you can still get your product to people. Whereas indie comics in the 90s, they were going directly to comic book shops, pounding the pavement, getting single issues in there. I don't know, I just think, like, we should be able to do this. It's just so much easier now to do. And I think time will tell. A year from now, I think things are going to be a lot farther along. Couple years, 5 years from now, I think you're going to have some really established intellectual property.
So I think Downcast is a great example of this, Clint. So
Tell me more. Yeah.
what you were just saying is the old days, Clint Stoker, if that's your real name, would have to come up with this comic, right? This comic idea, and he would have to pay out of his own pocket because nobody was going to give him money to make his own comic book. He have to pay out of his own pocket to make this whole thing. And then, so I've got to print at least 500 copies in order to even, begin to get enough economy of scale to pay for this thing. So you print your box full of 500 copies and, you're already $4 or $5 grand into the hole. And then you're essentially schlepping that box around to local comic stores and say, hey, I've got a comic I've made, and then you call the local paper and says, hometown boy done good, made my own comic, do a story about me. And, so you may get a little traction locally, but the idea is you had to put your own money into it. And then you had to bust your hump, going around store to store to get some people to actually carry your book. And that's not, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't have the reach to get to enough stores to sell 500 comic books. So then it's like it becomes a mail order thing. And then over 6 months, whatever, you end up recouping most of your money, right? If it's decent. And you know how it is. Most of these things are not decent. I mean, they're just kind of just unprofessional. They're not ready for prime time. So it's somebody's got a passion, but they're just not ready for the big show yet. And that's the way it was done back in the 80s for indie comics. And it was really tough. And a lot of times people just had to keep working and toiling away for years. But now we have the ability to literally fund our project up front, through the digital, so the one thing EVS is it EVS or one of the big guys is always talking about, oh, this is a good way to digitally sell your stuff. Well, no, it's not. This is a funding mechanism because the 30,000, Clint, that you're going to make is not only going to fund this initial run, but these people, these backers, they're all investors in the future of your comic.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then it makes print runs. I've said this before, but having that many orders up front and then you get comics printed, it just makes it so much more affordable to print the amount of copies that you really need to bring the price down. And then you can, I don't know, like I'm going to go to a convention and sell them. I'm going to go, to comic book shops, at least in a drivable distance. But I don't know, I'm thinking about calling up comic shops and trying to make sales over the phone and whatever I can do. But it enables you to do that, whereas and it's paid for already because they're backers that are interested in it. So I mean,
instead of having to dip into your own money to print 500 copies, what you're able to do is you're able to sell 750 copies to people and then buy an additional 750 copies and still have money left over. So, to sell on your own.
Yeah. And those backers, like a lot of them have bought 2 books, or 3 books in some case, or it's either 2 books or 4 books in some cases. So I actually have, I have sold right now over 1,200 copies.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so being able to print 2,000 copies, I will see by the time the in demand period's over how much it goes up to. But I don't know, 2,000 is a really good spot price wise to be getting the books. So if it was 3,000, that'd be great too. So don't hesitate, anybody that's thinking about it. It's in demand. So it really is cool. I'm excited for a couple of years to pass to see where things end up.
How far do you think we are from a CG Con or something?
Oh man, I would love, that would be so great.
Honestly, I think we're 18 months away.
There's going to have to be some lawsuits that are settled before that, I would think. Security is
going to be an issue, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Great. That's the 5th time the fire alarm's been pulled.
I know.
Yeah. I can see people standing on the hallway shouting, whatever. The thing, it's so crazy. I want to go to a convention and sell books or meet people, and I should have the right to do that. You should be able to have the safety to go out and talk to people for having what I think are like pretty basic viewpoints. You know what I mean? For like American culture, pretty relatively middle of the road. You should be able to go and discuss, whatever, sell your book, whatever you want. It's a weird world that we live in, but I don't know. Like, yeah, I'd love to see an in-person convention and meet all these people that I'm meeting online. It'd be so crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be great. I mean, I would just love to see the Comics Book Live in-person version where you got this panel of 10 folks sitting up at the table that you always only see on EVS's channel or something like that. And then you've got the standard question line, and you got the super chat line. Like, you got to put like 10 in the thing, and then you get to go to the head of the line. So
Yeah.
you got to monetize your fame.
Man, I just think it'd be cool to just go meet people in person, and they can, well, it was like when the first time I showed my face, everyone was horrified.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I do too.
That's I heard like Ethan was talking about this too. Like, you have to show your face, otherwise inevitably they will see your face, and it's only going to get worse the longer that they haven't seen your face. So,
well, what's funny is you could be an incredibly handsome person,
which I am. Yeah.
With like John Malin, for instance, when he showed his face recently. But when he
Yeah.
showed his face, there's people that are horrified because John Malin is showing his face, because that's not something he's ever done.
Cam says he's still horrified at Sweetcast. Someone was asking in the chat who's painting right now. That's George Alexopoulos of Problematic.
You see Eric's chat in the chat, just not Sweet Meat. That's the name of the con, the Sweet Meat.
Yeah, the sweet. That takes on a whole new meaning. Man, that's the most unfortunate thing from that from your boy Zach when he roasted me. That's the one thing that sticks with the two things. It's they can't believe that Clint Stoker is my real name, and then all the sweet meat stuff. I still don't understand that, but it is what it is.
It's funny.
Is that from Freakazoid?
No, I think it's like prison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. He
Sell
had yeah, he said you don't share a cell or something. Yeah.
The guy named
I have an idea for a book you should do.
What's that?
It should be called Clint Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen it. I've mentioned this a few times.
Oh, I
on
haven't
Twitter.
seen it now.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I already have the last name. It just feels like I need to do a Dracula book. Vampires aren't really my thing, but maybe I'm sure I could find a way to make it work. It just feels like it needs to be done.
You should do like LDS Dracula.
What would that look like?
Very,
That's right.
very
Like a
darkly.
blonde. Maybe it's a girl. Maybe it's a blonde.
Oh wait, isn't Twilight LDS
Yes.
written by an LDS?
Very sparkly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So maybe it's already been done.
Kind of. I think it could be done better than Twilight, though. I mean, I don't know.
You could have the Princess of Darkness, at living up in Sandy or something out in the burbs.
Yeah, you could. I don't know. Like, it's just middle America. It's not all that interesting, but I don't know. Maybe we could figure something out. Let's see. Hello everyone. How long is the stream been going? We've been going a little over an hour, so we probably won't be on a whole lot longer. And then Angram says, if you ever do something with vampires, I must participate somehow. Okay, I'm sure that could be arranged.
Can I just say, I think I said this the last time that we were on and with Angram, and her stuff is really good. And it's totally different than the stuff that I post, but I think I want to start like sharing her stuff on Twitter. I just got to I know I said that last week, but I need to get around and do that because it's just really good.
There's a lot of talent man, and there's more than I even realized. Like the more, again, Jason Black sent me that picture. That's amazing. There's probably so many top tier artists and writers out there that I don't even know. Let's see. Albino Thunderbuns says, I was thrilled when I saw Sweet Cast's face reveal. He looks like the love child of two of my cousins.
Oh, that would be that's horrifying.
Both are guys. Seriously, I look like brother. It's like incestuous, like okay. Well, we'll just leave it at that, I guess.
But, the sad thing is in order for them to have a baby, you got to get CRISPR involved. So that's horrifying.
Yeah. Jason Black says, I was copying Michael Turner. Can't take full credit. It's practice. That is good practice, though. Like copying styles, right?
Yep.
So when you had that picture up, I thought that was a Michael Turner, like some drawing from Michael Turner, or like a documentary you were saying.
Yeah, I can see it. No, that was Jason Black did that. Even if I traced it, I don't think it could even look close to that good. So yeah, that was impressive. Insert Pikachu meme here. I know exactly which meme you're talking about too. Cool, guys. That was a weird way to end a stream. Let's go across though. George Alexopoulos, he's the one you see painting right now. George, what do you have going on? You've got a YouTube channel now?
Yeah, it's my name, which is impossible to spell for everybody. So I would say it's easier to go to my Twitter, actually, which is gprime85. And I have the link to my YouTube on the profile, I think.
Very cool. Is your book Problematic? Is that still in demand?
It never actually made it to in demand, but what I'm going to do is after I fulfill all of the orders, I'm going to go back to, like, there was the complicated way that it's a collection of all the strips combined. So it's like volumes 1 and 2 plus sum of 3. So that's kind of its own book, but then I'm going to go back to just printing volume 1, 2, and then eventually 3. So those will be on sale after I finish this project.
Nice.
But if anyone wants to read the strip in the meantime, you can go to my site, studioj.com, and I actually have the whole series up on a site called Webtoon for free that you could read.
Very cool. All right. And then we have the man of the hour. We've got Jeremy here talking about his book, Movie Men, Crowded Theater.
Yep. And yeah, that's available on Indiegogo for 25 more days. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Jeremy Lot Diary.
There you go. Yep. And then we have Scott. Let me guess, you've got a mailing list to tell us about.
Yeah.
Good.
So if you haven't heard already, I've got a book coming out in the near future called Door Kickers. I've got a mailing list. If you sign up for the mailing list, you get a free 10-page preview comic, and that'll give you a good idea what Door Kickers is all about. The kind of mix of special operation stuff meets Call of Cthulhu. So it's definitely something different. I just dropped the link in the chat, and yeah, check it out.
Cool.
Very cool. And you can't forget about Downcast. That's my book. Though the campaign has ended, it's in demand. And I really think that we're probably going to get around 30 grand or more. Who knows?
32. I think 32.
32. Yeah, very well. Could be. So yeah, we're really close to 27,000 right now. So the link's in the description below. If you haven't backed it yet, I suspect everybody watching's basically backed it or decided they're not going to back it. But if you haven't and you're on the fence, go check it out. Why not? Might as well. So thanks everybody. I think we'll call it a night, and we'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, take care, everybody.